See, I'm lost without you, Lane. Seriously. I didn't realize how, like, I did know how much you did. I really appreciated it, but I didn't know until I did the first one without you. And I was like, what is happening? Like, I have to have it all together and be organized and follow this agenda. And yeah, so I have to start by introducing what we're doing here.
Yeah, let's do
Can Be
it.
Better podcast. Sadly missing Lane Anderson as a regular host, but joining us as a guest today. The whole purpose of the podcast is to help business owners make their business better. So I started my business and I do this podcast and I do everything else that I do because I've seen, the best of it and the worst of it. And business can be really profitable, really joyful, really awesome. And I think it should be that way. So that's why we do this. And my guest today is the one, the only, oh no, what's your handle? The real Lane Anderson,
The
right?
real Lane Anderson.
So
Not the fake Lane Anderson.
Thank you so much. And now I'm scheming. I'm like, how often can I get him as a guest? Like, maybe I'll just do my podcast once a month and then I'll have him be a monthly guest. But yeah, can you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm your old podcast co-host, also founder and CEO of a marketing firm in Lethbridge called London Road Media. We mostly serve SMBs in Southern Alberta, though not exclusively, and that seems to be growing more and more. But what we do that's a bit different is we really partner with our clients to become their complete out-of-house marketing department. We want to be there to advise, oversee, and execute on the marketing, not just services for sale. And so we're really going after that new, like that's a model that's becoming more and more popular of the whole fractional CMO. So if you can't afford to have a chief marketing officer in your company, then you can have a portion of one by outsourcing it. And so we're in that model of the fractional CMO and fractional marketing team that you can hire an entire marketing department for a fraction of what it would cost to hire in-house. And then when you're big enough to hire an entire marketing department, can't wait for you to do that and fire us and build your own marketing department. But in the meantime, we're your fractional marketing department.
Awesome. I love that. That must be a huge service to most businesses who are trying to take that, to get past that sort of that next level of growth, because yeah, they can't go find an amazing marketing department or head of marketing right away, right? It's got to.
Yeah, awesome. It's good. And I think we introduced a lot of businesses to the first time of actually doing a lot more strategic marketing rather than just being responsive and knee jerk and whatever the flavor of the month is. But even looking at an annual perspective and figuring out what are we going to do this year and getting really strategic and intentional and well planned about what we do, so that you just get better performance and more efficiency and everything. So that's usually the new piece we bring to the table, where they're used to just hiring someone for their services. I need a website, I need a video made, I need some ads run, I need whatever. But we kind of come in as that advise and then oversee and then also execute. But a lot of that's the fun part.
That's awesome. Our live call next week, we just decided this afternoon, Tim and I, that it would be proactive versus reactive leadership, because there's been so many people I've found lately that are just, I guess, freaking out. I'll use freaking out because, there's moments where I have been freaking out too with COVID. Just so many challenges, so many changes, and just not knowing so many things. We've all, I think, become a little bit reactive, but the marketing approach, people, if that's a problem that existed long before COVID, is that people are just like kind of throwing stuff up or responding to what happens or doing what their competition is doing. And it's like, no. Yeah. So I love that, being more strategic about it. That's great. And I think a lot of our clients too, with the consulting I do, they wish we did the work, so I think that's awesome. That's the whole package. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So we usually we talk about why this topic is so important, and I wrote in there, it's too obvious to even mention, but obviously we want to talk about things real time that are going to help business owners. And during an uncertain time where a lot of businesses aren't able to fully sell in person, online marketing and selling is really, really important. And so I really wanted to pick your brain on that and have you give us some education on, so I guess we've got a couple of points listed out here. I'm going to let you basically teach us a class today, if you don't mind, because I've really been missing your expertise. But in the other, like in China, I think the one report I was reading where things have sort of like come back to normal or things are reopened, they're seeing drastic drops in consumer spending, right? So even when things are back to, fully open, whatever that looks like, there may still be a lot less money being spent in someone's industry. So it's more important for them to get like a bigger market share, right? So I was really hoping that you could help us. What should people do right now?
Yeah, so I had made a note in there that the psychology around consuming has changed and behavior around consuming has changed. So both of those has changed. But I think one of the biggest changes I've noticed that you could possibly take a positive out of this is such an enormous influx in supporting small independent business and local business. Like it's enormous how much more of an advantage you have by being a local business now, rather than like the Walmarts and the Home Depots and the whatever are at a disadvantage right now because people are actually finally actively seeking out a local alternative because everyone is just, there's so much empathy right now. Everyone feels that we're struggling, and if I can do something to help my neighbor because he owns a landscape company, then I'm going to hire him rather than go buy some tools at Home Depot or whatever. It's just there's so much empathy and support for local. So I think like we just can't tell you who it is, but we just got a new client today that's going to be opening a new local business, and it's the first independent offering compared to the box store offering that we currently have. And like I'm so excited because they were planning to do this before this happened, and they had to of course hit pause for a few months while they're working things out, but like they're so perfectly poised right now to be an amazing new downtown business offering a local alternative where we currently don't really have one, and it's the perfect time.
Do you do this on purpose? You make me want to know so bad. Is this a marketing thing? This is the marketing psychology.
You gotta tease it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited. That's awesome. I can't wait to see what it is. Yeah, that's so true. I love that. And I remember reading some research before that said, I'm totally probably, these numbers are probably wrong, but I want to say that something like 70% of people claim to be green and like earth conscious and socially responsible, but it was like who actually acted that way was like 14% or something crazy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people will say, yeah, support local or whatever, but not actually live that way. But you're seeing,
and there's a portion of that. Like there's definitely, if verbal support of local business went up 100%, then probably actual money going into the till action probably went up 70% or something, right? Like it doesn't match. Like for sure it is greater than the actual action, but still like that's still valuable. I mean, if you go look at just about any, or at least all the ones we're involved with, any local businesses, social media accounts are getting reach and engagement like they haven't in years because of how much people are at least saying that they want to support local. So at least that's valuable. You're being able to have relationships with so many more people because of how much more people are wanting to support these kind of businesses. So
yeah, actually,
hopefully there's some follow through.
Sorry, what was that last thing you said?
Oh, I just said, so hopefully there's some follow through as well, but at least that's something.
I know there is because I can see it just in myself and in my businesses. Like even like I went to the bakery last week to bring food to Tim and his crew, and they wanted like, what did they want? I don't know, something bad for you, donuts or something. And I ended up getting like 4 different things. It was like cheese buns and donuts and cupcakes, and it was like $30 something, but I was happy to do it. I almost wanted to grab more things off the counter just because I was like, oh, this local bakery is open. Like it's really, yeah. And actually we saw that at Shoe Solutions today. People, I was trying not to get into doubt because I was like, oh, but it could go the other way, and we could be overstaffed and we could be, setting our goals too high and people could be scared to spend money and staying home. But we've had one of our biggest days today. And
awesome.
Yeah, so people are coming flooding back to local businesses, at least mission-driven businesses that I work with. So Awesome. Well, I love that. So that's a good thing. What else has changed about behavior?
So people's willingness to shop online obviously has shifted a lot. And I think in the past we've thought about online versus local. for some reason. I don't really know why, but local
Amazon.
can be online. Like why
Yeah.
they're not two different things. You can be both. Like you can be a local business that sells online. And so that has changed a lot where the people who used to just have a local brick and mortar and saw that as an opponent to online are now thinking about being online because of consumer behavior. Is people who used to come in the store are now very willing to go online and support local. So to people who are saying, well, I don't want to shop online, usually they mean I don't want to shop at big, huge conglomerate companies like Amazon online, but you can still shop online and support local. So that behavior has changed a lot. We had two different existing clients who both already offered doorstep delivery in their business before this happened. And then the second this happened, they both just had incredible growth in that side of their business, obviously. And they were already set up to be an online company, and they were already positioned to take advantage of that. Or not, it's not even taking advantage. They were just, they got
Ready.
to reap. Yeah. So
Yeah, I want to stop on that one just for one sec here. Sorry, because like one business I'm thinking of was forced to get their online store to work, and it was something that they should have done for the last 5 years. Like we wanted to have it as part of their options for customers, especially customers who have bought before, who know what they're getting. Why wouldn't we have the sales automated and delivered rather than having to pay an employee to take care of the person in the store, right? So I think I've seen it kind of forcing businesses to get better a little bit.
yeah, and I'm wondering what that's going to mean on the operational side of business. And maybe in the past I would have conjectured on this when I was co-host, but I'm only speaking to marketing sides now. But I mean, do we really need this much overhead? Like, can't we just have a little showroom in the front and then still support the same amount of customers by positioning half of it online and doing delivery and doing pickup? And like, do we need an $8,000 lease to have this huge space?
Yeah,
So
I know.
I think that's going to change a lot. And so that's going to mean tough things for different people, commercial landlords and stuff. But
Yeah, some businesses, I don't know how they could ever go back. I know a lot of people have trimmed their overhead down to so minimal. They're having their most profitable months ever. And so bringing all of that back would just be irresponsible in some ways. But did you ever read that book, Re-Engineering Retail?
I have not.
It's basically, I think it's an IT analyst, or not an IT analyst. I'm totally saying it wrong. I'll send you a picture of the book later. But it's all about how retail stores who don't focus on the experience are going to become extinct because of online sales. But if you can really maintain that connection with the customer, that incredible experience, that place where people want to come and be and hang out, then you will survive.
Mm-hmm.
Like you won't go out of business because of online sales. But that whole thing that I was pretty much living by, that's turned upside down now, because like in the shoe store, we have to get people in and out as fast as possible. Where in the old days, it was like, how can we get them to hang out and have fun? And like, we're going to put some arcade games in there, some couches. And now it's illegal to do that.
Right.
Like it says right in the order, So I think the only characteristic that you can build into your business that will never change, that's going to be important, is flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That has to be one of your things. Yeah.
For sure.
Sorry, I totally threw us off topic.
That's all right. So behavior, it's all about the fact that people have changed or they've become more willing to make the purchase online. But another important part of it is, at least during this time, and it might go back to where it was, but people are less picky about what that process looks like. Like in the past, you really needed to have a well-built e-commerce store, really conversion optimized, really slick, like all the psychology is considered about colors of buttons and minimum clicks and like all that stuff. And right now, literally just take a photo of 10 things in your inventory and throw them on Facebook as a carousel post, and you're going to sell all of them. And people's method of purchasing is sending you a Facebook message and then e-transferring you money, and then you drop it on their doorstep. Like 3 months ago, people would be like, what are you doing? How amateur is that? Like, go build a proper store. But right now, the patience or willingness or whatever it is, people's willingness to tolerate something that's not entirely convenient is very high. And so
That's awesome.
no one has an excuse to not take it online, because all you need is a Facebook page in your smartphone, and you can be selling stuff in the next half hour. Like it's just,
It's a
it
great
doesn't have to
point.
be fancy. And don't hire me to do it, because by the time you pay me and then make your profit off the sales I get you, you're at like break even by the time this thing blows over. So like just set up a pretty honky, like simple thing, duct tape and 2x4s and make it happen.
Yeah, it actually, that exact thing has happened in a few businesses that I've been talking to, and it works. Like they all sold right away. Yeah, that's a good point, because I know I tried to buy an online course last year, and you kind of forget how lucky we are and how spoiled we are with technology, because it's like the screen was like a little spinning thing, and I was like, oh, well, I'm not buying this then.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, you had to wait 3 seconds. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
how people usually are with online shopping. So you're saying that tolerance is much higher. Okay. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that'll go back, but who knows?
And there was something I was wanting to do like a month ago, and then we've just been so busy I haven't been able to. And now I feel like people are starting to transition back to brick and mortar. But I was wanting to do like a quick tutorial of how to set up a Facebook page to be a shop, because you can add the shop tab to your page, and then you can just add inventory items. You set a description and a price and some pictures and all this stuff, and then it just says message us to buy, and you can set up a little e-commerce store on your Facebook page. And then once that's set up, then if you have the knowledge of how to set up Facebook ads, then you can even advertise those products. You don't have to just like boost a post that had some photos. You can actually set up some proper ads, and you can do a lot. You don't need to get into Shopify or WooCommerce or Amazon or anything flashy.
Yeah.
It's just,
I liked what you said. You're always a little more in your face than I am, but people have no excuse to not sell online. Like
no,
I like
if you
I
have
like that you
something
put
that
that.
can sell, yeah.
Yeah.
We had, so I mean, everyone, it's no secret, like everyone knows we do Italian tables marketing. If you know us locally, they decided kind of last minute to do the Mother's Day brunch, because everyone was kind of, was it the Mother's Day one? No, sorry, it's the Easter one. It's the first one they did. Because everyone, all the catering companies, different restaurants are putting together Easter brunch kind of packages that you could pre-order. And they started hearing about how quite a few restaurants were running short and fully booked and couldn't take orders. So they realized like maybe we should actually jump on this, even though that's not normally something we would do. And so I was literally told at like 3 something p.m. in the afternoon on like Friday, hey, can we make a post about this? And we had it up within the next hour. And all we did was made one organic post about book your Easter brunch or dinner or whatever it was. And he sold, I forget how many it was, but he served something like 200 servings of Easter dinner by one organic post that went up Friday afternoon before Easter. So it's like,
You're in
it's
big trouble
just so
now. Your
easy.
turnaround time's in an hour. That's the expectation you just set. Call
Yeah.
Lane, he'll have it up in an hour, and then you'll get 200 orders. That's the
Yeah.
expectation.
Just like that. Boom, done.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And that was organic.
Yeah, not an ad at all. That was just a post. So that's what I mean, is like you don't have to get fancy. We just took a photo that we had sitting in a folder somewhere and put a description of what you're offering and posted it. Like that's how high the willingness is for people to support local and buy that way, rather than whatever, going to a fast food place or another restaurant. Or yeah, people are wanting to support these people because they know how much they're struggling.
Was there tons of sharing on the posts and stuff too?
Yeah, like dozens and dozens of shares and likes and comments and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I've seen that's increased huge for every business that I've talked to. Like
Yeah,
I just
huge.
randomly looked at someone's Facebook page the other day. It's a repair shop in another city in Alberta, and I was like, is this right? Like he only has 200 Facebook followers, and it was like 900 views, and I'm like, 13 shares. I'm like, who do you know these people? No. And it's just started upticking since COVID. People are just like, oh, I'll share this, you know? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
So
so part of it is the interest in wanting to support local and independent business, but the other is just in general, people are at home and spending more time on Facebook than or Instagram or the websites or whatever than ever before. So there's just, you're getting so many more impressions and reach on your post just because of that too. People are scrolling longer, they're getting to your content. Like there's just multiple reasons why you're able to reach people. Digital ads right now still are incredibly affordable because there's so much extra ad inventory in Facebook and Google, because every time someone spends 5 seconds online, you've given the opportunity to have an ad be shown to you, right? So the more people are spending time online, the more possible ads there are to show people. So there's just this huge influx in ad inventory available. So all of us that are advertising, it's all about competition, and it's just so much cheaper right now to advertise because of that even. Yeah.
So what about psychology? You've talked about psychology is changing as well.
Yeah, the psychology part, I think I did a talk about this like a month ago or something, and then I turned it into a huge blog post, and so there's
That was
detailed
so
version of
good.
this.
But the one you
But
emailed, the
yeah, it was
Maslow.
in the email as well. Yeah, it's like I really see it as whether you want to, because there's criticisms of Maslow's pyramid and hierarchy of needs for sure, but regardless of whether you buy into that or not, people's psychology about what's important to them has changed. So whether it's because of Maslow's pyramid and it's like, well, I used to be focused on become like self-actualization, like the top of the pyramid, I want to be the greatest version of myself, and according to Maslow's theory, it's hard to concentrate on those higher things when base things aren't met. So at the very bottom, like physiological, I need food and water and sleep and roof and clothing. I need that before I can worry about being the best version of myself. And then above that, I need safety and security, and there's like the pyramid. So if you believe in the Maslow thing, then as soon as those things come at risk, then your focus switches there. Like if people are no longer able to put food on their table, that is their primary concern, and they're not worried about whether or not they wash their Lexus. Like it just doesn't matter. So it just completely shifted people's motivation. But regardless, yeah, if the Maslow thing is like, oh, that's kind of hokey and old psychology theory, just you can't deny that people's motivation has changed or what's important to them, like spending time at home, like trying to connect with people again, trying to still have a social life, even though we have to do it in new ways. I mean, you see the huge wave of people gardening and doing yard work this spring. Like you can't find vegetable seeds in a store anymore because everyone has a garden now. Like people's mind has shifted to what's important in their life. So that psychology piece is a huge change. So anyone who works in aspirational marketing, like the Lexus, or anyone who's selling something about becoming your best self or about class or any of that's difficult. They're going to have to change their messaging to start addressing a need that's more relevant to people right now. But everyone else who's like we have a bakery is the example I give in the blog. And as soon as this all happened and all we had to do is make an ad that said, don't worry, we still have bread, like come on in, shelves are stocked. When everyone's energy and attention is focused on just meeting their basic physiological need about making sure they're stocked up and have food to eat, you've just given them the perfect solution to their needs. So that ad just goes insane and gets a ton of attention. So it's all about marketing always has been. It's always about meeting people's needs. Like what are we doing for them? What need do we meet? And this is not a new concept, but now it's more relevant than ever because people's needs just shifted a lot.
And you need to redo, like you need to ask again, right? Like the research we did before COVID may not hold. Their motivation for purchasing your product or service may be different now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish Bootsma Bakery was watching or listening, or I wish they were one of your clients, but like I drove all over town for like 3 hours one day trying to find yeast. For some reason, everyone bought all the yeast.
Yeah.
They all making their own bread. And Tim was like really wanted buns. So I tried really hard to get it and I couldn't. So I ended up buying pizza yeast, which it did work, if anyone's wondering. But
I didn't know there was a difference.
I don't think it is. I think it's marketing, to be honest. But I tried figuring it out. My mom
Marketers ruin everything.
No, it's brilliant. I love it. I love marketing. But Tim went to Bootsma Bakery, which I think he does more often than he'd like to admit. But he found they made their own little packages of yeast and put their store sticker on it. And he sent it to me. And in the picture, he didn't have it beside the hand or anything. So I thought it was like this big. And right. I was like, oh, he has no concept of how much yeast you need to make like a whole thing of buns. I thought he bought himself like this big
like a 10-pound bag of yeast.
Yeah, but I was like, that's brilliant. They probably took their bulk yeast that they get for a really good cost, broke it up into little 2 tablespoon bags. They're probably making 3,000% on it. And if they just put that on Facebook or Instagram, it would get shared like crazy, and
Yeah.
they would get sold out because everybody wanted yeast. Like
Yeah.
I went to every grocery store. It's so, yeah, like the opportunity. Then once they posted it, it would get shared, and yeah, really, that's really cool. I like that. And also, I really like this. I don't know if it's the new you or if you just because you're not the co-host, you're trying to be less aggressive or nicer to me or something. But I've never heard you argue both sides of something before. You're usually like, this is the way it works. The other side is incorrect. They haven't done their research. But to address, well, if you don't like Maslow's hierarchy,
I just don't want anyone to criticize and be like, "Oh, that's so hokey." You can focus on self-actualization while your whatever job is at risk, but I don't know.
no,
It's
well,
debatable.
you can only focus on one thing at a time. So if you're thinking about your job being at risk, you're not thinking about your Lexus. But I do think whenever we generalize, like if you were to say when the unemployment rate was really low, when people would say, "Oh, there's no employees out there," I'm like, you are being so stupid right now. Yes, in general, as a whole, the unemployment rate is low and there are fewer employees, but that doesn't mean there's zero. There
Right.
might be 3 people out there, and you could get them if you tried. So there will still be some people who they're not affected, and there will be some businesses who are doing great, and there'll be some people who their income didn't stop, or I was
Oh,
going to say
yeah.
their investments didn't drastically fall, but I don't think there is anybody that
But
had.
but there's 5 levels to the pyramid, and number three is that social need, like belongingness and feeling loved and like having relationships. And that I don't care who you are, that's at risk right now. Like everyone's
Absolutely.
affected that way. And so
Absolutely.
that's where when I talked about this, I said like Maslow's pyramid got the top lopped off because the top two are just gone. Like no one's got above the I need socialization. Like I'm married to an extrovert, and like extroverts are going through their own extra challenge. Like for
Yeah, we
me, I'm
are.
like, this kind of is boring. I'd like to get out, but I'm like, I'm good. This is fine.
I was
But
going to say you seem very well adjusted in your home office.
that's great. It's a little empty and like echoey right now because we're mid transition to a different room. But I do enjoy working from home now.
Yeah, I told you earlier before we went live, I saw your wife at the park, and it was all I could do to not hug her. I was like, hello.
Friends, people.
Yeah, I read your article and I thought it was so good. I really loved
Thanks.
it. I was like, you should send more emails. But yeah, you're right. So imagine if you had a company that could fill that. I mean, Zoom is probably whoever invested in Zoom they're probably thinking they're lucky stars.
Yeah,
Zoom,
and you see the big companies realizing that and changing, right? So Google just invested so much into Google Meet, which is what we use in our organization for all of our meetings and video chats and everything. We don't use Zoom, but a whole bunch of new features were unrolled like a month into it, things that I've been asking and hoping for ages, and suddenly they had new features and it worked better and it did more things. And then Facebook introduced theirs. They have their own what do they call it? Rooms or something. They
oh
have their
yeah,
own
somebody
little
was talking
video
about
call
Zoom.
thing. So
Yeah.
everyone's like, even you see the big companies realizing like this is where people's needs need to be met is socialization, belonging. You see all these sites like um, board game, like table game websites where you can share and all play Monopoly together or something. Like all these ways that we can connect are that's about meeting a need that's underfulfilled right now.
Can we talk about Google really quick? I would love for you to defend them really quick here for me. I've
Okay,
been sending everyone to Google for 6 years. I'm like, use
right.
Google Business.
Reviews, yeah.
I love Google Hangouts. I did all my meetings on Google Hangouts. Like, I love Google. I think it's awesome. We talked about Google Slides for procedures. Like, it's brilliant. I love Google. But the last like 2 months, it's been letting me down hard. Like, just cutting out, freezing. My email inbox was like not available right now. I'm like, what? So
Oh wow.
now that I've been like a huge fan of Google for months, it seems to have some glitches lately. Have you
Letting you
experienced that?
down. I haven't, but I can imagine like they have a very reduced workforce as well, like anyone. So I mean, we talked about it quite a while ago about how reviews are currently kind of just sitting in a database and not being published. And they
Yeah.
outright said that because their workforce is reduced, and there must be some amount of manual process there or something, review, or I don't know. But yeah, they just basically said those are all going to sit in a folder somewhere until we can get to them, and they'll be released later. So things like that they have intentionally reduced their service because, yeah, they don't have huge cubicle filled rooms full of people to make this stuff happen. So I can imagine that there's going to be some technical issues that are harder to deal with now too.
I'm sure if you haven't had any problems, it's probably my internet too. So I'm going to lay off Google. I can't imagine like being that big and trying to be flexible. Like I know they are flexible. Obviously, it's a huge part of their business model, but imagine trying to turn like the Titanic versus a little, I don't know, what's a small boat? I don't go in boats. Canoe? Like that would be easier.
Kayak? I don't know, something.
Yeah, kayak. That'd be easier. Okay, is there anything else you want to talk about with psychology? I'm trying to stick to our half an hour here for you.
Oh, I'm good, but I don't think so. That's the main piece of it. It's just like thinking of people's motivations and what's important to them right now. And yeah, if you're trying to sell them a Rolex, that's probably not the top thing on their mind.
Yeah,
Find a different way to meet their needs.
agreed. So you wrote here, intent is everything.
Yes, intent is everything. So when you talked about packaging yeast and reselling it, if you set that at a little bit of a marked up price and you blast it all over the place, and it comes across as being a little bit profiteering and taking advantage of people, that's not going to work. Whereas the exact same thing as you put a couple tablespoons or you put a cup in a little container and you say, hey, we're able to buy this in bulk. We know you can't get access to it, so we wanted to share our supply with you. That intent is everything, because it's so easy to get that wrong and come across as the villain instead of the hero. So yeah, it's all about intent.
So two things. One of the things that I teach constantly, and I'm trying to remind everybody right now, there are going to be really cool opportunities that come out of this struggle, because there always are, but it's not a real opportunity unless it's win-win. It's not sustainable unless it's win-win. It's not even like an idea unless it's win-win. If you're just out to make, like, it's those Amazon wipes, like I literally almost accidentally bought 10 wipes for $99 when COVID first started. I was like, is this a case? And so obviously those people, that's not a sustainable, not even allowed, right? But yeah, it's got to be win-win. So, and then what you said about the intent, I think it's one thing to have good intentions, but another one to clearly communicate them. Because I think a lot of people do have good intentions, or people have a really good reason why, or they have a strong mission, or they really believe in something and they don't share it. And I think that's a huge myth in marketing, because they don't want to sound like they're self-promoting, or they don't want to sound like they're trying too hard or whatever. So they just kind of post something that's not, it doesn't hook people, it doesn't speak to people, it doesn't land for people, because it's not really authentic. So I think it's important to say, like you just said, it sounded very easy. I don't know what the word is, authentic. I think that's the word I'm struggling to find. But if you say it like that, it sounds completely authentic, and it sounds like a good idea, and it sounds like you're helping them out, and you're just being honest and transparent. We wanted to help you out, right? But if you were trying to, and this is all marketing, if you're trying to trick somebody or trying to look like something you're not, or the whole bait and switch concept, like it just doesn't work ever.
Yeah, there's some of that stuff, like the profiteering and all that stuff is just straight out illegal. You just can't do that. But even just like we say, just the tone and making sure your good intentions are clear, that means a lot. Like I'm thinking of all the golf courses were kind of the first thing that got to open, and there was the possibility that you could do that wrong. You could post saying, how awful this spring has been for us, and how all of this happening has really hurt our business, and so please come back and get your memberships now. Like if you make it self-serving about how hard this has been for us, it doesn't work, and people are going to be like really retaliating against that. But if it's all about we're so excited to finally see you, we've been watching the grass grow and can't wait to get people out on it, like you make it about them, that means everything. And that's also not new. It's just that all of these things, all these lessons are just becoming so much more clear. These are all very well established things. Is serve your audience, give them something that's meaningful to them. Yeah.
And I think like years and years ago, it became really apparent to me that people, like, you can't get away with anything anymore. Those companies who don't have good intentions, they're not going to make it. Like, with the way that we can get our news now, like across the globe instantly, big companies can't, even small companies can't make bad choices or do things with bad intentions or get away with giving bad customer service or not delivering a quality product, because it's going to be on their Google reviews, it's going to be on their social media reviews, it's going to be everywhere. And the thing with, I was kind of thinking earlier when you were talking that it's kind of like we're holding a magnifying glass to a lot of these things, and that whole this is kind of negative, which is weird for me, but there's a lot of people, on social media that they're just like, oh, this is bad and this is wrong, and they just want to do that. There's a lot more people out there right now that will crucify you and write you bad reviews and write stuff about you online right now, so even more reason to be a good human and have good intentions.
Well, that goes hand in hand with like everyone being full of empathy right now, just because of the situation that people are far more conscious consumers right now. Like, they understand that every dollar they spend, like we talk about voting with your dollar, like every dollar you spend, you're choosing what kind of business you want to exist in this world. And that's never been more the case than ever in my existence than it ever has been. Like, I try to think that way all the time, where I'm like, no, what business do I choose? Like, I will choose to spend more here because I want to support the downtown business instead of Costco. Like, that's how I usually try to be a consumer, but that is so much the case now. So people are really critical about where they spend their money. So if there's any reason for them to not spend their money with you, that might get uncovered.
Yeah, it will. And I love that literally right now, you'll choose whether a business stays open or not by where you spend your dollars.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so if you go get your pizza at Pizza 73 instead of Two Guys, that's voting for Lethbridge. Which pizza joint do you want to still exist here? Like, that's what your dollars do.
You don't work for those guys, right? Two Guys?
No, I don't.
Just wanted everyone to know that.
Yeah. That's not unbiased, just a delicious pizza. That's it.
Yeah, you couldn't have picked a better villain in my opinion. No, that's a great example. Okay, so I'm gonna get you to sum up. I want you to come back.
I'm gonna sum up?
Yeah, I want you to sum up.
Okay, some behaviors change because of people's willingness to go online, people's enthusiasm to support local, and people's tolerance for pretty shoddy e-commerce setups, because it doesn't matter as much anymore. That changed a lot. Psychology's changed a lot because of people's motivation, what needs they're trying to meet, and I think that's it. And have good intent. Make your good intentions clear.
I like this. It's like I'm the boss and you do all the things.
Yeah, I just fill in all the blanks.
I like you being a guest. No, I'm kidding. I miss you like crazy on the podcast, Lane. You were seriously. It was an honor to have you for that 8 months or whatever that I got you. But
it was fun.
Having you as a guest is almost as good. So I hope you'll come back. And we sure appreciate your expertise. And we'll be sharing the heck out of this. Hopefully a lot of people can be helped by it, because I think there's a lot of people right now just kind of reacting, and they're like trying to survive. They're sort of in fight or flight mode, I think. And if they were to just kind of take a breath, think of some of this stuff through, make a plan, and be more intentional about it, they could have really great success. I love the Easter example with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good example. And I can echo that. Like, I've seen a ton of organic reach because of sharing and so many people being online, and people wanting to, So huge opportunity right now to be more strategic. So quick tip.
Oh, so I put together, so my quick tip is quick to tell you about, but not at all quick to do, is that you should be more strategic. And so putting the time together to do an annual strategic marketing plan and figure out for the however many months, like what we've got 7 months left in 2020, what is your marketing going to look like? What's your total budget? What are we going to do? And to have an annual marketing plan, or whatever your fiscal year, that's a good time to do it when you're doing all your budgets, that you know what your marketing budget is then, and you can put that out there. So I put together a quick outline of what I think a marketing plan should look like as far as what should be in it. there's going to be a lot of stuff that you need to go search and figure out what that means and what how to do it. But if you go to, I just made it a short link, so bit.ly, bit.ly/marketing outline. There's just a very simple, ugly Word document outline of like, if you were to make this into a document, here's the things that I think you should include. So things like your mission statement and unique value propositions, and what does your brand look like and sound like, and what's your customer journey, and what are the marketing activities that you're going to be involved in, and who is the team that's going to execute them, and how are you going to measure success, and all of that should be in there. So my quick tip is to go do 20 hours of work.
Sounds like
an annual strategic marketing
advice.
plan.
That's awesome. I'm looking at it right now. It looks awesome. Thank you.
It's not pretty, but I think it has a lot of value in it.
It is.
You needed an outline to follow, because there's no like template of how a marketing plan should look. Everyone does it different, but just in our experience and how we do this for clients, this includes a lot of what we would put into a marketing outline for someone, so you know exactly what to do over the next 12 months.
Awesome. Yeah, this looks great. Thank you. I think it looks pretty. My quick tip is to just resurvey people or buy some new research, just to make sure that you guys look at what your whole business was probably based on filling a need before, or helping somebody move towards a goal, and that motivation has probably changed, or it's at least a little bit different. So I think it's a good idea to go back and find out, either reaffirm, that you're serving the need, or, helping people in the way that you think their psychologists are working, or you might have to change some things, and chances are you probably have to change some things. Yeah. Okay, so I don't want it to end because I want you to come back as a podcast host. So that's it. Thank you so much for doing that, and I hope that we can have you back soon, because your expertise is so appreciated, and I know it helps a ton of people. And you want to tell people where they can find you?
Sure. I'm Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Those are my ones. So LinkedIn, just my name, Lane Anderson. Twitter, Lane_Anderson, and Instagram, The Real Lane Anderson. So those are the three that are best to connect with me on.
Awesome. And you guys know where to find me. Kelly Ray Tamaki, TMH Business Coaching Consulting, on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's so funny because I'm still following your outline, and I almost keep forgetting that you're not like co-hosting this. And
right, you have to say these things.
What do you want us to do now, Lane? What do you want me to do? Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I sure hope that helped you. I know that it will if you put that stuff into action. And Lane, do you want to post that link onto the Facebook post of the live stream?
Sure.
Awesome. That would be so helpful for people. And we will put the link to that below anywhere you have found this. So anyways, I hope you guys are taking care and you guys are staying safe. And thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Lane. Appreciate you. Miss you.
Thanks.
Say hi to the family. Bye.